Jedi Power Battles for the PlayStation 1. There was also a technically superior and probably better version released on the Dreamcast, but as I don't have a Dreamcast, you'll be enjoying this review in amazing wobbly polygono vision. Jedi Power Battles is basically a scrolling beat-em-up in the same vein as Streets of Rage and Golden Axe, following the events of the first Star Wars prequel. You run along a prescripted path, introducing hordes of droids to the business end of your lightsaber, and occasionally doing some platform jumping. You can choose from a roster of 5 Jedi, including Oscar Schindler, Mark Renton, and that guy who was in Snakes on a Plane. I love the fact that Samuel L. Jackson gets so much prominence in this game, despite the fact that he was in the film for about 8 seconds. Anyway, in a single move that gives the game more substance than Golden Axe, each character has a different fighting style, so Plo Koon is very physical and has strong attacks, whilst Adi Gallia is fast and agile. Everyone has different moves and you can earn more on completing levels, although once unlocked, there's no way to remind yourself what the button combinations are, which is pretty annoying. Get enough points and you can also level up your character, giving them either more health or a greater stock of force energy. Although you'll mostly want to increase your health as the force powers are not really required, it's nice that they give you the choice. A welcome addition to your Jedi's arsenal is the ability to deflect laser shots. You can just hold down the block button and the shot will bounce off at a random angle, or if you time it right, the laser will fly back and hit whoever fired it. It's pretty cool once you get the hang of it, and does come in very useful once you face the tougher enemies. The levels follow the plot of the movie reasonably closely, taking you from the Trade Federation ship to the surface of Naboo, and on to Tatooine and Coruscant. The game does occasionally throw in some variety by letting you drive a tank. Well, it does it once anyway. Look, these droids managed to take me by surprise in their armoured death machine, only to hop out and let me steal it and promptly slaughter them. This is the sort of thing that got you replaced by stormtroopers, guys. Most of the time though, you'll be working your way through crowds of enemies with your lightsaber, which, as in all video games where it features, is very satisfying to use. So, the game has some depth, and it's fun to play, especially in co-op, but it's not short on problems either. The controls feel very stiff and there's sometimes a bit of a delay between pressing the buttons and getting a result on screen. Your character moves pretty slowly as a default, and running can sometimes cause you to run headfirst off cliffs. It's also a damn good thing you can do double jumps right from the start, as the cumbersome movement means making even simple jumps can be a chore, and in later levels where you're under fire things can get very frustrating. And can someone explain to me how a Sam person dressed in rags can block a lightsaber with his arm? Another thing that does get very annoying is the checkpoint system. Checkpoints are only created when you pick up these clock-like things, but sometimes there's only one in the whole level, meaning if you die you're going to be replaying the same sections over and over again. Also, here's something. In this level you have to rescue 7 handmaidens, despite the fact that the droids have no interest in harming them whatsoever, and they're undoubtedly in less danger than you are. Chances are on your first run through you'll get to this point and see this rather weird cutscene, and the game will tell you you've failed because you haven't collected enough handmaidens. It then sends you all the way back to the beginning of the level, regardless of how many checkpoint markers you picked up. Even more annoying, the last handmaiden you need to find is literally 15 seconds back the way you came, and there's really no reason why you couldn't have gone back and found her. As I alluded to earlier, the game suffers from the PlayStation's tendency to make 3D objects that wobble like they're on the verge of nuclear meltdown.
Shaking all over.
But on top of this, the average gameplay session will throw up more perspective warping than the average Escher drawing, only completely by accident. Okay, maybe that's a little bit unfair, it doesn't happen that often, but the game is far from being graphically perfect. You also get quite a few glitches, like your character getting stuck on the edges of platforms, which is yet another reason to hate the platforming sections of the game, as though one were needed. The soundtrack, on the other hand, makes dynamic use of John Williams' score depending on what's happening on screen, and uses this to great effect. The sound effects are generally good too, although for some reason picking up items results in a little chuckle from Yoda. Speaking of items, there are a whole bunch, including health, force energy, extra continues and so on, as well as temporary boosts which will make your lightsaber wider and longer. One can only assume that LucasArts were getting a lot of spam from pharmaceutical companies at the time. So, is it worth tracking down Jedi Power Battles on eBay? Probably not, and this is coming from someone who actually likes it. Whilst the golden rule of co-op making any game fun still applies, especially when lightsabers are involved, the stiffness of the controls, bad jumping puzzles and stupid checkpoints make it rather annoying to play, and the many graphical glitches hammer home the point that it really isn't a quality title. The idea of a scrolling beat-em-up with lightsabers is definitely a good one, but the execution in this case is a bit lacking. A movie tie-in game that fails to live up to its potential. How shocking is that?